Morning.
Good morning. My name is Parole Officer Torres. Today is Wednesday, March 26, 2025, and this is the hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they have viewed all statutorily required documents and available pertinent information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning. I'm panel member Barry.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Nancy Turner.
Good morning.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Matthew Frazier, inmate number 396326.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Matthew Frazier, number 396326. He is serving a sentence of 4 years flat for 3 counts of violation of probation for underlying sex assault second and criminal violation of a restraining order. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of March 20th, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows the offender completed Embracing Fatherhood, Short Track Sex Offender Program, and Tier 2. He has also been involved in the Yale prison education courses. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism falls within the moderate high range. Mr. Frazier, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
All right, thank you. So I believe parole is a privilege, and it's a privilege that I've been trying to earn since I've come in here. I came into this facility 18 months ago. In that time frame, like just stated, I took the sex offender program here. I've been part of the Embracing Fatherhood program. I have 2 sons, Trenton, age 4, and Landon, age 2. I also have taken Tier 2 to deal with my addiction. I have been actively participating in AA since September of 2023. I also have been in the Yale Prison Education Initiative, which is college classes through Yale and the University of New Haven. I have 2 semesters down in the paperwork that you guys have. I showed that my first semester I had 4.0s in the 2 classes that I could take during the summer. And then in the fall, I hadn't got my grades back yet, but for the fall semester, I took 3 classes and I got 3 4.0s as well. So over 2 semesters and 5 classes, I retained a 4.0 grade point average. The classes that you guys don't have information for was an Intro to Architecture, Principles of Communications, and then the last one was Great Books of the Humanities, Human Nature, which was a philosophy class. And I just wanted to briefly read what the teacher said there, because I think it speaks to how I've been doing in the program as a whole. He said, Matthew Frazier was an excellent student in great books. He prepared carefully for each class, did all his readings and weekly responses were thoughtful. His first paper featured fine discussions of awe-inspiring moments in human nature and Sophocles' Antigone, which is a Greek tragedy. His final paper was outstanding, staging a well-organized, insightful conversation between Shakespeare and Rousseau on the harm of society and its unnatural inequality does to human beings. He was respectful and collaborative contribution to the discussions, always bringing his best self to every class. And also currently, I'm still in the program. This semester, I figured that I could take 4 classes and, push what I was able to do. And so far, I have 4.0s at least halfway through at the midterms of these classes. and they include ethics, experiments in survival, eugenics, and then the last class is diversity and social justice. On top of doing the Yale Prison Initiative program, I'm also in culinary at the same time. So not only am I also going to college, but I'm also getting on the job or skills that I can use on the job for the type of job that I had when I was out there working at 2 different restaurants before I was incarcerated. And last but not least, I've also been helped with mental health. When I came in here, I realized that I needed help to make sure that my family had a better life than what I was providing them before I came in here. And so for the first time in my life, I asked for help. And I asked mental health to see me. They've been actively working with me, telling me that, you know, I've been doing good with addiction services. They prescribed me antidepressants, and they check up on me once a month to see how I'm doing. And that has made a significant difference in my outlook on life.
Good. Okay, Mr. Frazier, we appreciate all the information that you've provided. We have some questions after reviewing your file. Each of us will take turns to ask those questions, and when we're done, we'll deliberate and give you our decision. Okay, and
Okay.
Mr. Sazowskis, we'll start with the questions.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for that opening statement. You answered some of the questions I had about your schooling. You know, why did you have so much trouble on probation? I mean, that's what this is about. You've never successfully completed probation in the past, 3 different times, and each time you keep failing. Can you talk about have you identified what the problem is?
Yeah, it was my negative outlook, pessimistic outlook on myself, my abilities, my substance use issues that I had. I figured that I didn't need any help from anyone. That, you know, I've always been the type of man that tries to do everything himself. I've tried to think that I can be a user, and because I can functionally go to work, I can pay my bills, that's a way that is acceptable to life. My father told me, you know, if you're going to do something, everything needs to be in moderation. Well, that's one thing I never listened to him on, especially with my substance use, was moderation. And I realized this isn't the way that I need my family to go through. I have 2 young sons that are still in diapers that need somebody that can provide for them and be stable. Using drugs, even if I'm functional, isn't functional. It's an unmanageable life, I've realized. And I've taken the time to try to actively work with that. AA has been the biggest help for me in realizing that I'm not alone in this, that other people have gone through it. Working with mental health and being on antidepressants was something that I always thought wasn't for me. And I realized that it doesn't change the person that I am. It makes me have the little bit of help that I needed to be able to become the better person, to be able to go back to school, to be able to reach my potential and not feel like I need to use drugs. My whole issue with probation has been that I'm trying to complete probation while I'm trying to use drugs, and obviously that doesn't work. And it made me make very poor decisions when it came to probation.
Okay, so did you take a tier program previously before this incarceration and another incarceration?
No, I've never taken any drug programs except through probation when I was out on probation. I've never taken anything in DOC.
So you think that this tier program has helped you?
Yeah, I believe that it helped me identify some of the triggers that I have, some of the warning signs that I have, and then AA, I was able to bring up some of the discussions there and continue to work with AA, because Tier 2 isn't quite too long of a program. AA I've been going to since before Tier 2 and since after as well, and so that's how I've been staying active with my recovery beyond just the program, is through AA as well.
You know where the AA meetings are held in the area where you want to live?
Yeah, so I know for a fact that before I came in, I was trying to attend some. I knew that I needed help, and so I started looking them up, and there is an AA meeting in Stafford, the town that I was living in, which is one town over from when I'm paroling. It's at Sun Valley, And if I actually remember correctly, it's either Saturday or Sunday morning. And then I also know of one that I did attend that is on every Wednesday at the Methodist Church in Ellington, which is on Route 140. I don't know of any in Summers itself, but I do actively know of at least two that I, went to one and at least knew of the other one.
Okay, good. Do you have a sponsor on the outside, or is that something you plan to try to do?
Yeah, so I would like to have a sponsor. I talked with the individual that does our meetings here is Dave. And so he said that when I get out there, if you show up at a meeting and say, I just got out of incarceration, I need somebody to help, the type of program it is everybody's going to help. He said that from here, he could get in trouble for helping us get a sponsor or for sponsoring us as himself. He would have to end his prison commitment here.
I understand that. Okay. All righty. Thank you for answering those. You took the sex offender treatment program, you said, during this incarceration, right? How has that helped you?
It's reinforced what I've learned through the connections. I had taken the connections the whole time that I've been on probation. It was I haven't been part of it because I was on violation status. So it was a refresher of some of the key issues that I had faced back during my offense, which was, cognitive distortion, having poor problem solving, which I, obviously still had on probation, at least in regards to substance use. It helped me, realize that the mistakes that I made back then didn't define me as a person. It made me be able to be a better person because I was able to deal with what I did wrong and be able to see what I did wrong and know that that wasn't the way to view things back then. I was I thought I was above the law back then, and that wasn't the case.
Okay. There's a note here. It said, when I was reading through your interview with the parole officer and some of the other documents, it says that you were dating someone underage and didn't know it at first, and then you found out and continued.
Yes, that is true.
So how old were you? How old were you when this started?
When I started, I was 21. It lasted for about 4 months.
You were not able at 21 years old to tell that the person was 15 years old, not old enough to, not your age?
That was part of the cognitive distortion. She was not attending high school, and it's plainly put, cognitive distortion. I wanted to believe what I wanted to believe.
Yeah.
I wanted to think what I wanted to think. And, like I said, is that once I found out, it was one of those things that I said, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I'm okay because we've been together. And that's, part of, the issue that I had is even when I could have made the right choice back then, I still decided to do whatever Matt wanted to do. And that was not the right way to think.
And at some point you found out, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And you did, like you said in your statement, you continued.
Yes, I did.
Okay. From reading through the documents, there appears to have been some violence involved, according to what I read, involved in that situation. And, you have anger management on your OAP. Have you had an opportunity to take that?
They have just added it to my OAP when I took my last review, which was, sorry, just 1 second. So my last review was on, apologize, I have so many from Yale in here. My last review was on 10/1/24, and I've written to them. I have a couple of requests here about taking anger management, and they just say that I am on the waiting list for it.
Okay.
Back when I was younger, sorry.
No, I want to hear what you have to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. Back when I was younger, I know that I had an anger problem, not specifically pertaining to the case, but just in general. I had a very negative outlook, and before any of this incarceration, I learned to deal with that and to accept the things that I can and, that I can change, that I can do. I've learned to, not get so mad at everything. And for at least the past 10 years, I've not had any issues with anger. I actually found out through my ethics class that it's called Stoic, is actually the kind of philosophy that I took. And so
Okay.
my next paper in there is going to be on Stoic, because he gave us a book to choose from, 3 books, and that was one of them. And when I read it, I realized that's the approach that I taught myself, to not be so angry at everything, and it's greatly helped me. So I'm very interested in taking that paper.
Yeah. And I mean, do you think that you could learn some tools from taking that anger management class?
I mean, I'm always up for learning new techniques, new ways to deal with things. That's, what I approach my college on.
Yeah.
That's why I try to get into all the programs, because as human beings, we can always learn something new, even if we don't think that we can.
Okay. Let's talk about, how do you think your actions have affected the victim long term? Like how do you feel like they've been affected by what happened?
So when I was in a relationship with her, it was objectifiable. It was based upon sex. It wasn't based upon actual, real caring for each other. I negatively impacted how men view women. I may have impacted her negatively on how she views herself. I've realized that my actions as an adult can greatly influence other people, especially people that are underage, that are susceptible to, still developing mentally. That she may be, somebody that doesn't view herself the same because of the actions that I took, that she may only view herself as, what am I trying to say? Physical is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if that's the best word, but that there's many different ways that you can mentally change somebody's worldview, and how to view themselves, how to view the world, and how to take interactions in future relationships that they may or may not have. And I realized that before this incarceration, through the connections, we talked quite a bit about that when I did my autobiography with them.
Okay, yeah, those are the kinds of things that, they teach in the Voices program. You have that on your OAP also. Have you heard anything about taking that?
I have at least 6 or 7 requests here in 18 months. They say that because I'm too far from my EOS to get into the program. And so they said I'm on a waiting list until I get closer to EOS, or until parole makes that a mandatory thing.
Yeah, okay. And then you had troubles with the sex offender registry too, I read. I mean, why would you have so much trouble with that? It doesn't, it's just a reporting situation. What was going on?
So I take full responsibility for that. I did not realize that I needed to send the first letter. So if I had not sent the first letter in enough time, when I would get the second letter, I would send that and never send the first one. And I greatly made a mistake not realizing that any letter I ever sent, I should have just sent back. And I made the poor assumption to only send the most recent letter, not any letter that I had. And so that's how I have so many violations over so many years, is from not sending that first letter to them, but only sending the next letter if I had missed the timing.
Do you think drugs, play a role and you're not paying attention to detail?
Absolutely. And then there'd be times that during that I would get the letter and then I would forget about it because, I was too high. Drugs absolutely played a role in not prioritizing things, and also not going about my life in a manner that was timely, in a manner that, like, I was always late to work and stuff like that. I would show up to work, but I was late. And that's what I was meaning by I was functional, but I wasn't having a manageable life. And that was the distortion that I had with my drug use, is that I thought because I'm paying my bills, because, you know, I'm just hovering in probation. I'm not excelling, I'm just hovering, that I'm getting by. And getting by isn't a way to go through life. That's not a way to go through life. And that's what I was doing for so many years.
Do you know when your sex offender registry ends? Are you aware of when that is, the date?
Not the exact date. I do know that I have 2 years or so left on it, from what I remember from going to court. I do not know exactly if it's under 2 years or over 2 years, but it's about that amount of time.
Yeah, I have a sooner date records, but I was just curious if you understand
Yes,
when
I do.
that would end. All right. So you were in the problem sexual behavior program out in the community, and same thing with the probation, with the sex offender registry. You've had trouble completing it and going and everything else. Did you ever finish that, or you were violated before you?
Are you asking for the connections program?
Yeah.
Did I complete that? So I have not completed that yet. I have gone all the way until my treatment goal 6, which is the final thing before completing. And the only reason I did not complete is because I was in violation status when COVID happened. And before that, they said that until you get off violation status, they didn't feel right with me finishing my treatment goal 6 to be discontinued from the program, or graduate the program is a better word, until I became active again in probation.
So I mean, it's just a lot. You have, 3 violations of probation, and you have never completed probation successfully.
This is his 4th violation.
4 now, yeah. And so you had a problem with the sex offender registry. You were on probation when this happened. You couldn't complete the sex offender program in the community. You just see all these things start piling up when we're looking at parole and how suitable you might be for success. I do appreciate all the programs that you've done in this educational program, the culinary, everything you're trying to reach out. I hear in your voice, that you want to do better and you're trying to get past all of this. Can you just, you talked about the Yale program. So you're registered through May? Is that what you're registered through right now?
Yes, that's the end of the spring semester.
And then if you're still incarcerated, you intend to take classes over the summer?
I can take classes until I am released, yeah.
What's your plan? I know you have a lot of other stuff to deal with and everything, but do you have a plan for education, after? Because you may not complete it while you're incarcerated.
I have a plan for not only education, but also for employment and that kind of stuff. I have a long-term and a short-term plan if you wanted to hear it.
Well, just tell me about education right now. You're taking classes with Yale and University of New Haven. Sounds like a partnership between them with the prison system. And is there a plan with them for you to continue with them, or do you have to finish somewhere else if you're outside?
So the plan as it stands right now, if I am granted parole, what will happen is I'll be able to finish up any classes I have through the program that I'm in right now. On the outside, I can complete these classes. Then for the summertime, they're going to help me transition to either Manchester Community College or as Nantucket Community College, which I can do online or in person. And the reason why I would be transferring to them and not going to continue with Yale is because obviously Yale is very expensive.
Yeah.
And they have a program called a scholarship, I should call it, the Eli Whitney Scholarship. And so what it is you have 2 referrals, you take multiple prompts for them, you do an interview with them, and they give you a full scholarship to Yale. And not only do they give you a full scholarship, but they also pay you $9,000 a semester, so that way you don't have to work and you can be a full-time student. And the deadline for that ended on March 20th to apply for it. So I have to wait until next year to apply for it. But with taking classes, I can get recommendations from Yale professors. I have perfect grade point average. I'm already scholarship eligible for just general academia. So like if I wanted to go to UConn, I have $30,000 based upon my grade point averages being over 3.7 that I can get into UConn with, along with the Pell, would make it about $3,700, or sorry, $37,000 that I would have towards UConn's tuition. So my options are very open, even if I didn't get the Eli Whitney.
All right, so I hear that you have a plan to continue your education. You sound serious about it. You put some work in it.
Yeah. I want to become a statistician.
Okay. Good. It sounds like your thinking is clear, about the future. Now, I read some information that you have a short-term plan of going back to work at a restaurant that you previously worked at. Is that true?
Yes, and so that's why it was great that culinary started up when I came in here, because I was working actually 2 restaurants. When I came in for the same owner, I was working 12, up to 16-hour days to try to support my family. And I had no idea what I was doing in the kitchen, honestly. I had only ever managed Dunkin' Donuts. I was a store manager for Dunkin' Donuts, which is nothing like cooking actual food. And so I learned immensely in this culinary program. And now when I actually go back to that job, I have complete confidence in myself, which I didn't have before, and what I know and what I didn't, from what I didn't know back then. My fiance is friends, or my fiance's father is friends with the owner. That's how I got the job. And the gentleman's just waiting for me to come back and show up at his door to start working again.
Okay. Sometimes people will submit a document to us that says that, we're going to offer him this opportunity when he's released from incarceration, if everything goes as planned. Did you get anything in writing from them?
No, but I mean, obviously I don't have it today, but I could get that easily.
Okay. That sometimes that's helpful for us, just besides you saying it, to have something from someone else that shows that there are people willing to help you and give you a chance to work,
I can also tell you that the 2 restaurants are Ellington Pizza, and the other one is Benny's Banquet, which is in Vernon. The other one, obviously, Ellington. And the owner of those restaurants also owns the Hilltop in Willington. And if you call that restaurant the Hilltop, he's there all the time. He'll take a call from you guys.
Well, yeah. So that's for you to get the information provided to us. So
okay, so
might be something that you might be able to work on later. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Those are all the questions I have for you today, sir. I'm going to pass on to my colleagues and see what they might want to ask you.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Vasquez. Ms. Turner?
So I read the evaluation of your participation in the short-term group. You finished that in January of last year. And then in May, you had another evaluation by the connection, where the same organization you had been in treatment with. And a couple of things stood out for me. You continue to assert that the sexual contact with the victim was consensual.
Yes. So when I was originally charged, I was only charged with 2nd-degree sexual assault. I didn't plead down to that.
Only?
Not well compared to what you're saying, which would be 1st-degree sexual assault. Also, I've taken a polygraph with the connections that asked me not only in my case, but ever in my life, have I used coercion,
Okay.
Force, or anything like that? I answered no, and I had passed that question.
Okay. But you do realize that the victim's account of what happened to her, what you did to her, varies greatly. When she declined in the car to have sexual relations with you, you forcibly restrained her and choked her while undressing her, and then penetrated her. When you were asked by the connection about the crime, you said, "We were dating, I did it, she was under 15, it was consensual. She was just mad that I broke up with her." That doesn't even fit the narrative of what went down in this relationship with the victim. I mean, it was really hard to read that she became suicidal was using marijuana with you, and the day she came home from treatment for her mental health, you picked her up and she snuck out of the house, and some of this continued. So you completed treatment inside, you did some on the outside, and in the evaluation, you were asked to define consent. Can you tell me what your definition of consent is?
Yeah, so my definition of consent is somebody that is over the age of 18, is willing to say yes. They're not showing a different, it's not even vocalized, it's also body language, because somebody can say yes, but their body can say otherwise. And so through the connections, they've taught us those types of cues, that body language is one of the most important things to visualize, because somebody can feel pressured to give consent and they're saying yes, but they're timid. They're shaking or anything like that. That's not somebody that's willingly giving consent. That's somebody that feels that they need to be able to say yes, even though they want to say no. Consent is a full action. It's not just a vocal words.
Is consent something that either partner can retract while engaging in intimacy?
Absolutely. And previous intimacy can also, not mean further intimacy. I remember us specifically in the connections talking about the case in California where somebody had slept with somebody else and then woke them up with sex when that person didn't want it and they were going on trial for that. You can't consent if you're not awake. And that was the problem.
And like you're saying, one instance of consent does not mean that you have consented to all contact of a sexual nature going forward.
Absolutely. And currently
so, Mr. Frazier, in the evaluation from last May, you told the connection that you know when someone wants to have sex, you said, I know when it's my girlfriend.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So what I mean by that is I'm in a committed relationship with the mother of my 2 children. We've been together for over 5 years now, and I know
but
her
you
body
considered
language.
The victim in this case your girlfriend at the time, didn't you?
I'm sorry, what time frame are you asking? When I was with the victim when I was 21 years old, I did consider her my girlfriend at that time.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So it seemed like you were carrying on that cognitive distortion that consent to sex once means that it's a foregone conclusion. You said you expected that you could have regular sexual intercourse with the victim because you were dating her.
Yeah, and that absolutely was a cognitive distortion that I had back then. I didn't have.
I just don't understand why your answer in May of last year about consent, when you know someone wants to have sex with you, wasn't more nuanced, that it wasn't recognizing that, I mean, somebody could be your girlfriend for months before you have intimacy.
So
and
I think
it doesn't give you any rights to sexual gratification or sexual contact.
I think what I was trying to say there, and I didn't vocalize it very well, was that by being in a committed relationship, I've learned how to respect her boundaries. I've learned through, my past behaviors, through my past mistakes, through everything that I've learned
Choices.
on how to be able to talk to her, how to be able to read her body signs, like how I just mentioned, how to be able to know what is acceptable to her, and not even just sexually, just, sometimes people don't want to be touched. When you're in a relationship living with somebody, sometimes they just want their own space. I've learned
boundaries.
that types of stuff. Boundaries, exactly. And so that's what I was trying to articulate when I said that, was not how it came out. It came out very poor, but what I'm saying is that I learned how to respect in a relationship those type of boundaries, how to respect her as a
Because,
person.
what was happening in the relationship was very concerning to me. And it threw up a lot of red flags when I was reading, the account of the crime and what the victim shared with the police. She said that you were very controlling. You wouldn't allow her to hang out with her friends. You made her give you all her passwords to her social media accounts and her email so that you could be monitoring it. This all screamed to me low self-esteem. And so it was interesting to read in your participation in the problem sexual behavior treatment that you did recognize that as an internal risk factor. And I'm hopeful that, all this effort that you're putting into furthering your education, you're building up your own self-esteem so that you don't have to tear down your partner in an attempt to control them so you can feel better about yourself.
Absolutely. Before I even came in here, I've learned the best way to say it would be to accept how I was feeling. And I used drugs to try to do that, which got me in trouble with probation. But since being in here, I had mentioned at the beginning in my intro that when I came in here, I realized this wasn't a way to go through life. And for the first time in my life, I said, I need help, and actually meant it. Not said it because probation made me say it, not say it because, it was the thing that I should do or somebody's idea of what I should do. I came in here and said that I needed help. I got on antidepressants. I also.
Well, I'm glad that, your private mental health situation should not be broadcast over the hearing as we live stream. But, I'm glad that you've come to some realizations because they were long overdue, sir, with 4 violations of the same period of probation and your deliberate acts to sabotage your own treatment, your own accountability to probation just was nonsense.
I realized that I had
the efforts and the energy that you put into not complying, if you had put into rehabilitating yourself, you'd have been done with this sentence a very long time ago.
You said exactly what my father said.
What was the fake stuff that you were asking your then girlfriend to buy you in case probation showed up at your house again?
So again, I was taking drugs and I was scared to, now at this point I have, a son on the way.
Let's cut to the chase. Was this Wizinator?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Was this Wizinator? What were you trying to get her to buy you?
I hadn't ever got it before, but there's stuff at like smoke shops that I had seen when I go in to buy cigarettes. And so whatever they had on the counter there, if that's the name brand, then yes, that's what I was.
To clean your urine or to give so that you can, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And this girlfriend at the time, this is now the mother of your children?
Yes, she is, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. So, Mr. Frazier, give us a few minutes to talk about your case, sir, and we will give you our decision shortly, okay? Please don't interrupt. You're more than welcome to listen.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Mr. Frazier is here, 33 years old today. Number of violations relating back to a sexual assault second and criminal violation of restraining order. We also had violations of the sex offender registry. And, it has a alcohol, DOC alcohol drug score 5 out of 5, the highest. Has completed the tier 2 program and the sex offender program. While incarcerated, in addition to being involved in the fatherhood program, and the Yoke Prison Education Program and culinary vocational program. So he's done some programming. He's not completed anger management voices that are still on his OAP, which he seemed to believe that he would benefit from. He rates out as moderate risk to recidivate. And, you know, he was on probation at the time of his arrest. He's had struggled with being under supervision offense. Gives me great concern. He's got 2 years left on this sentence. So I'm very concerned. I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say.
Thank you. Ms. Turner?
Well, Mr. Frazier appears to want more for himself and is beginning to engage in those efforts, both educationally and employment and also recovery. I'm glad that he's active in addressing his mental health needs. I am not supportive of his release to discretionary parole. I mean, he was making a complete joke out of his probation sentence, which was for an incredibly serious series of offenses involving a very young person who was repeatedly victimized. And I just, I'm not hearing the change across time to be consistent. So I'm going to vote to deny.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. So I went back in his file and I made sure that I noted each of his violations and how the courts really did try to work with him. And they give him a little bit of incarceration time to get clean, and then he'd go right back out and he would start using drugs again. And it's just this vicious cycle. And then it got to a point where he just absconded and didn't respond at all to the probation or the probation officer. He was discharged twice from treatment negatively. Both times he was out in the community. I show he was scheduled for 18. He had 7 unexcused absences. He was just really doing things that he should not have been doing when he was out in the community. And it was all because of his substance abuse. But in addition, okay, you know what you were supposed to change. I also hear his that he has a plan in place, hopefully, to be successful when he returns to the community. He continues to have love and support of his family. It sounds like he has employment ready for him, and he still has a girlfriend who's supportive and siblings. Sounds like he has a viable release plan. So because he already has so many things in place, he's almost done with the sex offender registry. He'll be done with his sentence in 2027, and his prior bouts with supervision in the community did not go well. I think that he should finish his sentence and go out to the community with his plan that he has in place without the overall resources or support that parole provides. So my vote too is to deny with no new hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I agree. It's all these violations in the sex offender registry, the treatment in the community. It's a lot.
It is. He was out the last time when he went out on probation. He was out for 121 days, and they violated him again. It's just.
So, and I mean, he still has some programs. He should try to finish anger management, try to get into voices. I see a note here that he's halfway house eligible for DOC in September. It's something else that he can pursue, and strengthen his release plan. But I agree with the both of you that for today, because of all the previous violations and everything, I am not. I currently has been on probation and age and circumstances. I don't know if you guys have anything different.
Well, I had poor performance on community
And that's
release because he doesn't have a new conviction. I have nature and circumstance.
We did get a conviction for failure to appear.
Okay, well,
I'm fine with it. I mean, it's, there's plenty. of
it
that,
reflects
Sure.
the
Yeah.
failure better.
So, was there a third one that you wanted that we felt we should have? Nature, circumstances, and poor performance on community release?
Those are fine, actually.
Okay.
All right, so we're ready with our official decision with regard to Matthew Frazier, 396-326. I move to deny discretionary parole with no hearing date based on his poor performance under community supervision and also the nature and circumstance of his. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Frazier, you receive all of this in writing, sir. We couldn't support your parole and we do wish you the best.
So there's no new chance for a hearing date?
Not from us, no.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Matthew Frazier. This concludes the hearing for MacDougall Walker.
I will